arrived to the Supreme Court. We have the Prop 8 case, and then we have DOMA. And so Prop 8 was heard yesterday, and the DOMA case was heard today. And they were very different, and I thought that the justices' interaction on them were very different. There were a lot of tough questions in
especially
both
from
cases.
Clarence Thomas, don't you think? When he gets right in there and gets asking all those tough questions.
Yeah, no. Once again,
Never
still silence.
a word.
I know,
ever.
right? I know. You gotta wonder what the case is. Could you imagine if he was?
If he ever said anything, I think people would go into like epileptic shock.
Right, maybe he could use sign language or something. Like what is it that I don't know what he does? Like, what is his purpose?
No one knows.
I know. Anyway, so the Prop 8 case was, it was really interesting that I didn't feel like they really want to do a whole lot. I think that
was my impression too, Kathy.
Yeah. I think that they're just going to kind of let it go and say that we're not really going to deal with this right now, which would mean that it's
goes back and California gets marriage.
Right, it goes back and California gets marriage and it's done and I'm okay with that. I mean that's fine. I don't really.
It's not the worst case scenario, but it could be better.
It could be better, but I don't think that they're looking to do that.
I agree.
I think that's why they took the DOMA case. I think that they're
yeah, you're not going to accept it to just give it back.
Right. And so, it gives some momentum that if somebody wants to challenge the constitutionality of a state law, you could do that. Now, of course, California had marriage. Then
previously,
this law was passed, right. And so it took rights away. So it's a very unique case. We don't have another situation where that exists. And that's the problem. If the way that the last judgment out of California was written is it's very narrow because of that.
And the justices to me seem kind of really on standing. They seem very focused on that. And without the standing, because neither the Attorney General nor the Governor of California would defend Prop 8, that seemed to be a major sticking point for some of the justices. Right. At least that was my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a clip, and so we're going to do an experiment here on playing a clip because normally we have a cord, and the cord's not connected for some reason. So I'm going to lean the microphone down, and we're gonna see how this works.
Turn that volume
But
up.
this is what people think is the best moment of the Prop 8 Supreme Court argument, and I thought it was awesome. But so let me hit play and let's see what happens.
Mr. Cooper, suppose a state said, because we think that the focus of marriage really should be on procreation, we're not going to give marriage licenses anymore to any couple where both people are over the age of 55. Would that be constitutional?
No, Your Honor, it would not be constitutional.
Because that's the same state interest, I would think. If you're over the age of 55, you don't help us serve the government's interest in regulating procreation through marriage. So why is that different?
Your Honor, even with respect to couples over the age of 55, it is very rare that both parties to the couple are infertile. And the traditional...
No, really, because if a couple... I can just assure you, if both the woman and the man are over the age of 55, there are not a lot of children coming out of that marriage.
So who knew that, the Supreme Court is like Saturday Night Live? I mean, there was a lot of laughter in these last 2 days of comments. I had no idea that, the comedians that are on the Supreme Court, the justices were quite funny. So that was Justice Kagan there. And it really was the focus in the Prop 8 case. They're so focused on the children and the family and what this is going to do. And, it's for procreation and all this. And it was fascinating to me. Even the protests outside, on yesterday, there were thousands on the pro-gay side and thousands on the anti. I mean, it was, I would say, pretty balanced. And but the signs were all about,
everyone was about the signs. All CNN could talk about the sign.
Well, what else was there to talk about?
Well, I wanted to know more beefy.
Well, right, but it was fascinating because even the message there was all about the children. And you need to have a mom and a dad, and their favorite soundbite. So it was interesting because they organized very differently. So the gays organized. They got there early, and they wanted the steps of the Supreme Court, and they took up all the real estate right in front of the Supreme Court. Nom staged down the way, and they met there. So then what happened was they marched.
They marched up.
Right, and they marched past, but then there was no place for them to be. So then they dispersed. Now, they also had a big stage set up, so down on the mall, and what C-SPAN covered before the tapes became available. And so after kind of, everybody came out and did the press conference and whatever, then NAM had a stage. They had performers, they had speakers, and it was a huge display that got actual TV coverage then. And they, they played this clip from this, I think she was 11, 12-year-old daughter who was testifying somewhere. And she was, her big point was, my mom has done this for me and my dad has done that for me. So if gay marriage goes through, then what parent would you have me give up? Which parent is it that I could do without, my mom or my dad? And I'm like, no one asking you to give up your parents. Like,
it's just misinformation.
Right.
But Justice Kennedy addressed that really well, I felt, and I felt it was a real bellwether because he's the swing justice. And Kennedy in his questioning was very much, and even said, I believe it's about the children. So he's playing into that same argument, but saying there were over 40,000 kids in the state of California with same-sex parents, and that those children wanted and needed both of their parents to have every right that any other kid's parents would have. I think that's a very powerful argument.
It is.
And I think really gives you insight to how his vote will play out in this hearing. With a 4-4 split, Kennedy really makes this a big difference.
Right.
I was very disappointed in Roberts, the Supreme Court Justice. Roberts, I thought, might be a little bit more of a swing because all the news this week, his lesbian cousin was coming to town. She was going to sit in on the hearings.
But she was coming to DOMA, not to Prop 8.
To DOMA, right. But his performance at DOMA wasn't too much different than his performance for Prop 8, in my opinion. I didn't feel his questioning or where he was going, what seemed very, in my opinion, was on the no side of things.
Yeah, I mean, But it was interesting, though. I mean, he was probing on both sides. I mean, I thought. I mean, yeah, his questions were definitely leaning towards the conservative, and he was trying to, highlight some. And the talking points he was using were definitely, more in the Christian right. I mean, he was using that verbiage. I agree with you,
and I think he needs to be very careful. He is going to be on the court for a very long time. He's a fairly younger man. He's in his late 50s. He could very well be the Chief Justice for another 20 years, clearly. Yeah. And he's clearly on the wrong side of history. So as time goes by, other and future generations are going to be judging him, I feel, very harshly if he comes down on both of these opinions on the wrong side, that was my indication.
Right.
But that was just my opinion. I have to go back, though, if you would indulge me for just a second, in the Prop 8 argument where Justice Kagan was asking about procreation. Many of you may know my mom recently passed, and she actually remarried when she was 80 years old. And at 80, you're not going to be, let's just be frank.
Probably not, no.
And she said the reason she did it was because she always gave her children a hard time because she didn't want them living in sin. So since she gave out that advice as a younger woman, she felt it was imperative for her to walk the walk and get married. And one of the last things my mother was able to do in November, she lived in the state of Maine. She voted for marriage equality in the state at the last election, which was very proud of her. But it just goes to show you that marriage for her was about the love she had with her partner, and that the same thing that she wanted for her children. And I think that goes across so many levels of our society. When you're talking about for kids, for our relatives, we want the same justice, the same equality, the same as our brothers and sisters who have had that right for years. And it just touched me that she brought that up, because that really, to me, goes to the heart of their argument. There's no other reason or for people who can't procreate. I mean, are you going to go test people if they're going to be fertile or not? I mean, how ridiculous.
No,
Be on the application for marriage, apparently.
Right. Well, but they, I mean, that's what they said. They said, we ask people for age, we ask people for things all the time, so why not put that? Hey, if you're over 50, then you're out. But I thought it was also interesting because, they got into this argument about. Well, California already gives basically every other right except for the label. And they're like, so this is really just about the name. And that was very interesting because they're like, what harm is this law doing then? And
if they take that route, Kathy, there's 8 other states, I believe, 7 or 8 other states that do that same thing, that are ruling if they made it a little bit broader, depending on how they come out with their decision. If they made that decision a bit broader, that would give full marriage equality to those other 7 or 8 states that have civil unions or other types of recognitions. I think Delaware falls in there. There's several states that do. That would open the door a little bit further. I mean, you'd be going...
Right. Yeah, but it seemed like they didn't like that. They were like, well, they're like, so you just want the name. And they had to make the case of, well, the name is very important. Like that is the key here because that is the what's used in law. And then that point was made actually today in the DOMA case.
DOMA. I think it's more of a definition with DOMA than you have a Prop 8.
It is.
It's a different
It is,
rule.
yeah. And so let's get into DOMA. And folks, you can join us in this in the conversation. You can either join us in the chat room at qtalkamerica.com and chat us up there, or you can call in at 888-791-9294, and we'd love to hear from you. So let's jump into the DOMA case today. It's a, I don't know, it's a big deal. I mean, you got Edie Windsor, right? Who is how old now?
83 years old.
83 years old.
Bless her heart.
Bless her heart. And I mean, how do they look at this woman and say,
yeah, you need to pay a little bit more.
Yeah, you need to pay a little bit more. That's not okay. And yeah, your marriage not as good as mine.
40 years, not quite enough.
Not quite enough. Not good. So, it's a load of crap. We all know that. And it's going to take, to me, it's going to take a lot of guts to look at her. Now, of course, they don't have to, right? I mean, it's not like they render their judgment in front of her, right? Their judgment will come out in June, and she will not be there.
They're going to be coffee in the back room.
That's right. They do not have to face her again. And so she had her day in court, and she was able to sit there, and they had to see her today. But ultimately, they do not have to read that decision, and they do not have to deal with her again. But it was... good day for her, and she's quite a hero to stand up and do this.
And she's very optimistic, she said after.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are very optimistic.
I agree, but we have to be cautiously optimistic.
Oh, you're always cautiously optimistic. But yeah,
I've lived in Arizona for too long. I've sat through too many nights.
Beaten down. But no, it's I think it's a good time to be.
It's an amazing time in history. This is a historic time in history.
It is. You can feel it.
For everyone. Just having the discussion. By the way, Ann Kirkpatrick called me yesterday. I assumed maybe she didn't.
No.
Just out of the blue, not asking for money, but just saying, I'm thinking of you with all the decisions going on in Washington. I really hope it goes the right way. And I felt it was very, very nice as a reach out.
Yes.
And saying, it's very exciting.
It's good.
And just having the discussion and having that discussion here in Washington be so all over the place is only good.
That's right. It's only good.
And we have to agree with that. It's only good. And it's really raising, even before we came in here, Bill had up something from Fox News, which is not really someone I always listen to or see. And Bill O'Reilly, who's always chanting and going off and off and off on the right wing, had to concede that the argument was really in our favor.
Yeah.
There's no really compelling, especially if you remove religion out of the question. What do they have?
Well, and that's the thing is, religion shouldn't be part of the question.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not what it's about. And that was the point that was made today. They're like, so simply because the word marriage is used in these 1,100, federal laws,
Statutes.
then these people don't get to have it because you don't like the word marriage being used. And I'm like, that's what I've been saying for years. You know, it's
All
like,
of
look,
us.
right? It's like if you just want to go ahead and change that word and then take everybody's marriage license away and make it a union license or a partnership license or whatever, and make my parents dissolve their marriage license, or they can keep their marriage license, but that's just with the church. That license lies with the church, and now you have to get a partnership agreement, or whatever. I mean, that is with the government. That agreement, they're recognizing that agreement between people as a government contract, and to say that government contract has some sort of religious connotation to it is ridiculous. So the government chose to use that word to keep it easy for everybody else, and that's the word we're stuck with. And so now you can't let that limit. And I thought I thought that Ginsburg did a great job, and I think I have that quote here somewhere.
I'd like to go over all the Supreme Court justices if you want. Now, I have to go. Yeah. We joked about Clarence Thomas. I joke about him all the time. I don't agree with him philosophically. There's a lot of issues with that man. But I can't imagine when he's going to be coming down and making this decision that he can't be thinking of Loving versus the Commonwealth of Virginia back in 1978, and it was in Virginia where he lives. He's a resident. He was banned from marrying his wife. It was legislated. How can that man not look at history?
Say anything.
Right.
He cannot look at history.
Hey, man.
What kind of decision? How is he going to come down on his right wing?
I think I need to go get that champagne or that wine
my God,
to kind of.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how he does that. Wouldn't it be something if this was a unanimous decision, just like Loving was? Wouldn't that be something?
We know that. I mean, and look at Eliotto, who said it. He said something to the effect. Nice. He said something to the effect. Eliotto said something to the effect of, "This is all new since the invention of the cell phone."
Right.
What kind of craziness is that?
No, that gay marriage. He said that gay marriage is just. It was only from the Netherlands or whatever. He said in 2000 was the first.
There were protests for gay marriage in 1989.
Right, protests for it, but it wasn't legalized. And so he was talking about the social science. He's like, we don't have enough evidence of the social science on this because it's only been around since 2000. It's newer than cell phones and the internet. That was what he said. And he was talking about the social science. And that's when other people were like, well, do you really want to wait 50 years like you did in interracial marriage and or in equality for the African American community? So
again, coming down on the wrong side of history.
Well, right, and that was the point. Is it's like, look, if you want to wait, I guess you can wait, but
that's unacceptable. I'm old. I can't.
Right. Right, and that's the thing is they're like, look, eventually you're going to get there. You got there, on the racial issue, but it took you this long. So do you want to do that, or do you actually want to make a decision and do this now? So, but Ginsburg today, she brought up the point, and she said, it says Justice Kennedy said 1,100 statutes, and it affects every area of our life. And this talks about using the word marriage in these laws. And so, he was really diminishing what the state has said is marriage. You're saying no, state said two kinds of marriage, the full marriage and then the sort of skim milk marriage. And that was a very right, because she's like, either you have marriage because you're a heterosexual couple and so you get at the state level and you get at the federal level, or because you're a gay couple, you get state level marriage, but then you don't have the federal right. So it's essentially skim milk marriage. And
I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. It's like, how can, if you're, and this seems to be kind of a key point, especially with Justice Kennedy. He's very into states' rights issues. And marriage has been a states' right issue. Now, this is not going to help us a lot if they go this way. And I do think that this is kind of the way that they're going to lean. But, let the states, if Massachusetts says we want to give gays and lesbians the right to marry, then who is the federal government to decide, well, but what we mean is we're not going to recognize that marriage.
Yeah, but what if you're living in Mississippi? What if you live in Arizona? Does that mean that I'm going to have full equality if I live in California? I need to pack up the U-Haul? Is that, that's really...
That's what they're going to do, yeah.
Reagan said, vote with your feet. Vote with your,
right.
Getting your suitcase.
And I think that's where they're going to start. I don't think that they're going to make this,
Well, then you're going to have equal and unequal.
Right. Yes.
And it's the United States of America. We're a federal.
Well, and then I think you're going to see more military folk bringing these issues up, because if DOMA falls, but it's a states' rights issue. So if I have it in one state, now the federal government is moving me, so I don't get to pick where I live. So now I'm based in
North Carolina.
Okay, but I was based in California. I got married in California. I've been living in California, and now you've moved me here. Are they going to have to make these decisions?
Or any other employer?
Right.
Think of like Xerox, anybody.
Right, right. But this is now the federal government. So this is now the federal government is an employer, and now are they infringing on the rights of essentially, and do people have the right then to say, would enlisted members have the right to say, well, you can't move me because my marriage isn't recognized there. You can't move me.
What if you were married in one state, like say Eddie or someone else moved, or were moved, and one spouse passes?
Right. Right.
Now you're not. The benefits now, even though their marriage was at first recognized, would that person have to move back to the state of or where they were originally married? It's going to be
wherever the person passes, right? Wherever the person passes. So again, for military people, if we're sending them into battle and now they're based here, does that person not have the survivor benefits because now they're based in a state that doesn't recognize that marriage? And that is going to be huge. And that's where I think, now they're going to have to look at this equal protection clause and what is going on there. And so
they should be looking at this was about the equal protection for DOMA. This is about the equal protection clause. That's where a lot of things were centered. And I know a lot of people get off on the whole standing and where.
Right. Blah 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 blah.
Have we done too much Supreme Court?
I don't know, maybe. So, it's a big deal, right? I mean, we've been waiting since 1996 to make this law go away and to get it up here, and so it definitely deserves our time and our analysis to discuss, because we've been discussing it on the show leading up to it and what's been going on, and we've had. Allison Robinson, the military expert, come on and talk about how this specifically is so impacting. I mean, we've been talking about this since we started, and so to not devote a lot of time to it tonight when it finally happened is a big deal.
Well, the only thing I was going to divert you from is just because of this, so many other things have happened around the country.
That's right.
Senators coming out every single day. There's been a change especially within the Democratic Party from some pretty red states. Senators taking a stand, I think some of them rather courageously. Claire McCaskill in Missouri coming out really started the ball rolling. And then Kay Hagan in North Carolina, Mark Warner in Virginia. I mean, every day more and more people coming out and not being in the closet about marriage equality. And I think that's been a problem for us. There's been so many people, well, I support you, but I want to support
it publicly,
you quietly.
Willing to put their name on
I don't really, I'm with you, but
wink, wink.
This is really taking that kind of butt out of the equation, that we're going to stand with you and we're standing for what's right. And I think that's making a change and will make a change in small town America and places where, marriage equality may not have been discussed a great deal.
Yeah. And it's been, it's just going to be interesting to see how this all plays out and how many more people are going to continue. And I think Kay Hagan was, was very poignant because she replaced, what's the jerk's name? Jonathan
Edwards?
No. He was one of the big proponents.
Jesse Helms?
Yes.
Oh, I think he was after Jesse Helms a little bit. But she has his seat.
Yes. So it's that same seat. And he was
crazy.
Over this. Right. Mm-hmm. And and specifically on DOMA. I mean, he was one of the leaders on DOMA, and now she has that seat. And to come out now, I mean, look at how full circle that seat has come. And so that was a very big moment. But we're having big moments here in Arizona.
Yeah, and Rebecca's chatting. She's in the chat room.
Yeah.
She's down there, and she said they're still testifying for the 1045. So they should have a vote there soon on it. She's texting me. She's like, "Are you guys ignoring me?" There's too many screens in front of me.
Yes,
That's
we
what I'm
are,
saying.
Rebecca. No,
Sorry, Rebecca. There's so many big news going on.
If you're not here, then we're going to ignore you.
We can call her, but
Right,
yeah, she
show
just
up.
is talking about SCOTUS and stuff and ignoring the Arizona battle.
Yeah.
She's
We'll
on
get to
that
the
one.
Arizona battle. It's still going on, so we have time. We're trying to talk about old
We
news.
still want to ignore
Right.
Arizona
I know.
politics.
we would like to have an answer as to what's going on. But so here's the deal. We talked last week about this bathroom bill that is happening for the transgender community, and there was a different number last week on the bill, and they ended up having a procedural issue. The bill was in two different committees, and so it couldn't be heard. The one committee head would not let it go, which stopped it, which was good
killed the bill.
for us.
It killed the
Good
bill.
for us. So Kavanaugh, who is the head of this committee, he was desperate to find another bill, and so he found another bill to do a Stryker amendment on. So we did a strike all on it, but he also changed the bill completely. So now it's not just a bathroom bill. It is what it is it's a specific attack on the transgender community. Now it also is on gender nonconformity as well. But I mean, really, it's just a horrible attack on the transgender community. So we got the language of the bill yesterday. I think it was just yesterday that we got the language of the bill. Everything's been happening really fast.
They've been working on it for the last few days.
Right, they've been working on it, but it wasn't posted.
Right, you're right.
It
So
wasn't
yesterday.
posted until yesterday. And so now the bill is currently being heard. People have been down there for over 5 hours. It was 4 hours before the bill had a hearing. And so basically what this bill does is it deals with privacy in public place, public accommodations, state, all that. So it's public accommodation issue. And let me see. I have a good summary.
We have to give a shout out though for Rebecca. God bless her. I mean, she's not with us tonight because she's down at the State House doing God's work, trying to protect LGBT people. And a shout out for her in Equality Arizona. This is really, she's done a lot of work on this and really does deserve a good shout out for us.
Absolutely.
Keep up the good
As
work.
well as many leaders in the transgender community.
No doubt.
Erica, Tony, Abby, just to name a few. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So, but basically, just to summarize, and this is from kind of the task force looking at this and summarizing it. They've changed it to essentially mean that local governments cannot provide rights to trans folks to use the restroom, locker room, etc. So thus, the city ordinance in Flagstaff, Phoenix, and Tucson would not be enforceable when it comes to granting people the right to use the restroom in any sex-segregated facility according to their gender identity. But the language is so broad in the bill that it might actually mean the entire non-discrimination ordinance is not enforceable. It also says that essentially owners, operators of facilities can choose to allow people to use facilities that match their gender identity and expression if they want to. So the owner can treat a trans person with respect if they want to, but that's not what has to happen, and there's no way to create a law that does that. And then it further states that if an owner operator of a facility denies access to someone based on gender identity and expression, that they cannot be held criminally or civilly liable for denying that access. So that's huge. I mean, the transgender community has no recourse for being treated, in an unfair way, in a discriminating way. It's a very, very, very discriminatory bill. It is, according to national folks across the country, this is one of the worst bills that they've ever seen against the transgender community.
This is right out of the Center for Arizona Policy. Let's be frank. I don't think Kavanaugh had anything to do. He was just being spoon-fed this by the Center for Arizona Policy. It's really disheartening, Kathy, looking when we say so much things going around the country, not just with the Supreme Court, but in Washington and in different states like Illinois and Rhode Island, other states that are really coming down, about to pass marriage equality and really advance things for us on so many different levels. To see today in Kansas, there's a bill in the Kansas legislature to quarantine people who are HIV positive. How disgusting, how horrible for the state of Kansas. And then the only other one that's negative is in Arizona, and really hurting our brand again.
Well, what else is new?
Is there any brand left to ruin?
No, that is our brand, Dan. I mean, it's
Crazy's our
crazy
brand.
Arizona.
If
we
you're
do it well. We do
crazy,
it good.
yeah.
then move to Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So It's going to be tough. Everybody's expecting this to get out of committee tonight. There are the room is full. They're having a great hearing. We have great talking points, but the numbers are not on our side.
There are so many more important issues. It's just so disturbing to me that there's things with the budget left undone. Budget's not even completely addressed. We can't even decide or agree for Medicare expansion to take more money for the federal government to treat poor people here in Arizona for their health. But we have to take all of our time and energy and worry about trans people in the bathroom.
Right.
Like, this is so ridiculous and hurtful and totally, completely unnecessary.
Right, and this is all in reaction to the Phoenix
Absolutely.
City Council,
This is revenge.
Right.
This is revenge legislation from the Center for Arizona Policy.
Right, and it's really unfortunate that they are taking this out on the transgender community. It's completely fear-based. They have no true knowledge of what they're talking about. There are not instances of attacks from transgendered individuals in the bathroom. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Most of the time, it is a transgender person that is insulted in the restroom, and we know that murders, the murder of transgender individuals is one of the highest class,
and hate crimes too.
Right, for hate crimes, and a lot of them, according to statistics, do actually occur in a restroom. So if anybody needs protection here, it is not Mr. Kavanaugh.
It's completely ridiculous.
Right, it's the trans community. However, their fear is keeping them. Put one of those on it, or a couple of those. Their fear is keeping them from dealing with this and from looking at the issue with some real perspective. And and it's so funny because the Center for Arizona Policy people were going off on the fact that the city council did this behind closed doors and they rushed it through and we didn't have time. This is a striker bill that nobody has had time to look at.
One of the few states that doesn't even allow striker bills. For people who don't know, maybe just a little bit of background on a striker bill is. A striker bill originally can be, I think, was this about massage or was that
the first one was about massage. Yeah, I don't know what this one was about.
And so it can be about some completely different topic that that at the end of session they can actually strike everything from the bill. So you could be a co-sponsor of this. This is now, I believe, 1045 is the number. This bill. This. I don't even know where this one originated.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you could have been a sponsor of this bill originally, and it could have been for something, for puppy protection or something,
right.
some great little thing. It could completely be struck away and new language written and inserted into this bill, into a bill that you may have written about a completely different topic and then thrown out onto the floor, completely side-blinding people if you're not paying attention.
Right.
You can be completely side-blinded by this and you can completely change the complexion of your state.
That's right.
That's, again, another reason.
Which is exactly what's happening here. I mean, this is going to undo the major cities in Arizona that have protected, or, that have passed these non-discrimination ordinances. This is going to completely undo that.
They're all for local control until it's against something they're for.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they want the state, the federal government, or someone else to come in and do their bidding.
So apparently, according to Rebecca, well, at least I assume she's the one posting for Equality Arizona, but there's only been one person speaking in favor of 1075.
Can I guess who?
Well, it's just some speaker person. Nobody says, but I guess it's a guy that often protested. No. Apparently it's some guy, and Chad Campbell is going after him, who's the minority leader and our friend here. So he good. Go Chad, go eat him up. But yeah, I mean, our side again has come out in strong numbers. We are all over the message, but the problem is, the Kavanaugh is definitely going to try to do this, and there is now a recall effort.
Which I was going to bring up. We should probably talk about the recall that just started, I believe, on Monday.
Yes.
I have mixed feelings about it, and don't get me wrong, I would love to there's nothing better to do, but it does give Kavanaugh the ability now to raise funds, which usually as a sitting legislator you're prohibited from raising money. Chad got a recall, I believe, on some other type
Right.
of issue.
Mm-hmm.
It can be good for Chad in some ways because it'll allow him to raise money if he's seeking higher office. It gets exploratory funds they can use for other campaigns. But there was no opponent to Kavanaugh. It's a completely very conservative, more suburban, rural type of district.
Where is he from? Where district?
Fountain Hills.
Fountain Hills. Okay.
And so
was
it's
Anthem?
kind of north Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and at some points north. Very conservative, very Republican.
A lot of money.
Very difficult to do. You can't really do a door-to-door effort. For instance, in Mesa, the Mesa district for Pierce was much more condensed. It had changed over the years. The dynamics had changed.
Right.
And although suburban, it was very easy to go door-to-door to get signatures to do whatever you may do. Fountain Hills is not quite so easy, and it's not quite so diverse. You're really dealing with a kind of a monolithic kind of
and they are going to
Republican.
be putting up a Republican, a more conservative, or I mean a more
But
liberal.
I don't know. I don't think there's anyone who's come forward though. I don't think there's a candidate.
I don't
someone
remember
in-
if they've
in
named
mind.
a candidate or not.
They
They had some
haven't.
people in mind, but I don't know as though there's someone specific.
Yeah,
that
that person may
that's
not
out
know
there.
they have them in mind.
Right.
And my other concern with this is there's also a recall effort going on for Sheriff Opaio, who coincidentally also lives in Fountain Hills. So I don't know what's going on Fountain Hills, the water supply. I don't know what's going on up
Yeah,
there.
that giant fountain is a problem.
Yeah.
But Opaio is also there, and having a recall, I would assume they would probably try to link these in some time because we're doing that with elections
not?
now. They're trying to, but that would help bring out that kind of base if we ever got to that point. But getting 22 or 24,000 signatures in a rather conservative and difficult district.
Well, I mean, apparently Kavanaugh's big promise is small government, and non-intrusive government. That is his big promise. And so, that's completely not what he's doing. I mean, now he was one. Well, that too. He was one of the big proponents of. They just passed tonight out of that same committee that now teachers can bring guns to school. Right. And I don't particularly need to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't see how.
And again, Kathy,
that's
we're going to be
government stepping in there
and making Arizona the butt of jokes on late night TV.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that going to accomplish, really?
Nothing. And
Well, embarrassing us.
Well, yeah, but that's par for the course now. That's par for the course. I mean, I don't know.
You're so hardened, Kathy.
It just.
It goes
what are
right
you
on.
gonna do?
What are you gonna do? No, it's. I mean, that's the only reason why you watch those shows now. Is it's like, let's see if Arizona's on. I mean, it's how many. It's like, how many weeks can we go before we're the butt of another joke? I mean,
Many
it's
days.
right. It's sad, but that is the.
That is the case of living in Arizona.
That is Arizona right now. Is and I mean, all eyes are on us. They know that this group is going to screw up again. They know that they're going to continue to do these asinine things, and so that's what happens. That's where we're at. So yeah, I keep refreshing here for some updates, but not so much. I mean, there's
They're
just
probably
still
taking here. It's probably still.
yeah, they're still
testimony.
debating, and we didn't know how long Kavanaugh would let people talk. So there's a lot of speakers, there's a lot of people that signed up to speak. We didn't know how generous he would be with the time, because there's really nobody showing up on his side. So. I mean, he could shut this down at any time, but people waited 4 hours to talk, so it's nice that he is giving them a little bit of time here to talk. But the other thing that's been fun these last couple of days is just how gay Facebook has been. I mean,
the changing. Of
there was a big push for
I think
everybody.
that's your Facebook, Kathy.
Oh, come on!
You have Bert and
Come
Ernie on
on.
yours, don't you?
Dude, I mean, the
Oh, I
entire
love Bert
thing,
and Ernie.
the entire
They're the
thing has
best.
just
I
been
saw
red.
R2D2 and C3PO. I saw Bert.
I
Bert
bet
and
Kathy
Ernie
Harrod's page isn't red.
No,
with envy and
should I pull it
anger,
up? Let me
maybe.
see. Let's see if I can
That's
pull
right,
it up
red with
here.
envy.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull it up. I wonder if she's even on.
But it is cool though, because you can see your friends list on the corner, just a little handful of them, and more than 75-80% of them are all red.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
kinda
No,
cool.
it is. It's very cool. See, she is on Facebook. What is she blocked from me? How dare you? How dare God? She's not even cool enough to have a cover photo.
Yeah,
Hello.
wow.
Hello.
Surprise.
Oh man. Anyway, she hasn't made a
Well, at least,
post.
Kathy, you look good in red.
She hasn't made a
There you
post
go.
since March 4th. What good is she? Now, she tweets. I do follow Kathy Herod on Twitter.
You're sick.
You have to. It keeps,
You know, I like
Or
to
you
see...
have some S&M type of thing. There's something sexual going on, and that's
No,
odd.
but, it's...
Why, Kathy?
I like to know when she's having a bad day. I will say that these last
She's
2
having a
days...
bad
because
day.
it makes
Yeah.
my day become a
Yeah,
good.
these last 2 days she's been tweeting about DOMA and or same-sex marriage cases, and she's not having a good day. You could tell she's really not, and it's so
Just saying.
it makes
So
me
little
happy.
joys,
Right?
little
Yeah,
joys
little
in life.
joys. She was very quiet during the Phoenix City Ordinance. Very quiet. There was no communication going on. That's when I knew she was really having a bad day because
She
she
knows
wasn't
how-
even
she
trying
knows
to
how to
call
count.
people out. Yeah. So it was interesting, but yeah, she hasn't mentioned anything about this. She was only talking about same-sex marriage. There's been nothing about this bathroom bill or whatever you want to call it now. No Lou for you is the hashtag. You can follow that. No Lou for the number 4U.
The Seinfeld inspired.
Yeah, it
Soup
was.
Nazi.
It was Soup Nazi inspired. No Soup for you. They decided no Lou for you. So that's, you can follow that hashtag on Twitter and get updates there. But anyway, you can follow Arizona Abby. Is it Arizona Arizona _Abby ABBY for updates as well. She's updating, doing live updates, and it's NOLOO for you, the letter U, and you can follow that hashtag and get all the updates there. So Facebook went so gay yesterday. The concept was turn it red. You're supposed to wear red during these DOMA hearings, marriage
I don't
hearings.
have any red, Kathy.
I don't care.
You look great.
I got
This
some in
is
my
all
beard. My
this is all I
beard's
could
red.
find.
I work for the American Heart Association.
Oh,
I
there you
have
go.
to.
You
I
have to
have
have
to
red.
own red. It is an important thing. Anyway, so
What if you're a ginger?
hey
Like
man,
some folks.
Hey,
we
man.
know.
Who's that?
hey, but you guys had your Facebook go red. He did.
Yes, we did.
Did you? Well, see, you suck. Okay.
He was in my picture. Somebody actually, Bill
just
Bill
didn't
Wood.
change until just tonight.
Bill Wood made my little avatar thing, and I think he made your one
Yes.
for you too. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. He took my actual profile picture with Dan and I, and just kind of, I don't know how he layered over like a red, equality sign, but it was kind of cool.
But it was so fun to see just all of these people change, from all the gay people change, but then also I had a whole bunch of straight allies that changed their their profile picture to the HRC. The HRC they did a red equal sign. Right. And that was one of the most popular ones, but a lot of people used other ones as well. And really, I mean, Facebook was so red yesterday,
Cool.
and it was really fun to watch. I was homesick, and so I just watched my Facebook change. And you know how there's that list of like who changed their profile picture, and it would just come up with boxes of red squares. I mean, it was just a blanket of red squares, and I'm like, this is so fun. Look at this. And then like Martha Stewart.
Those simple joys, Kathy.
Oh my
we got
God.
to do something with you.
And then Martha Stewart was like sending out red velvet cake.
Yeah.
Why aren't you watching
White-
C-SPAN?
I was watching C-SPAN, but I can watch this
I
change
saw the
all at
cake.
the same time. I'm multitasking. I had like 3 computers going, and I was like all set up and ready to go. This is what I do when I'm sick. And so, but yeah, no,
That was
but it was,
lame,
but
Kathy.
then,
You got to do another cough.
hey,
I didn't believe that one.
well, okay, whatever. So, but no, and then like Absolute Vodka sent out their red support.
Bud Light had a thing
Bud
with that.
Light had a
yeah.
thing. But so it was just
You're friends with Absolute Vodka.
It was fun. No, I saw somebody post it. No, it was so everybody was posting everything.
Oh.
In fact, I think you can go to HRC's page and they actually have like the top however many memes
really?
from
Like
yesterday because it was absolute insanity. Beyonce did one, and then she actually did a handwritten note as well. 'Cause it's something about obviously put a ring on it. Like everybody should be able to put a ring on it or something.
good
And then
for
she
her.
signed it. And I mean, there was
that's right. I saw that. That was very touching from Beyonce. I saw that.
and
Really?
a lot
see
of
it.
a lot of elected officials changed theirs. Locally, we've got Katie Hobbs that changed, and I know Chad Campbell changed. Some former candidates changed. I mean, the support from allies was really strong, and everybody's still, I'm looking at my Facebook now, and it's just all kinds of red equal signs. So it's been fun. But yes, it is the
That's
simple
cool.
joys from a computer geek and a little social media geek. It was fun. So yeah, so get over it.
Get over it.
Get over it. Deal with it. So what else? What else is going on?
They got the NFL player who's supposed to come out. You heard about that?
Yeah.
But do we have any
No.
speculation on
How
that?
dumb is that? I thought that was
they,
actually
like-
kind of dumb.
That's what I just pulled up on Huffington Post, and I thought maybe, I don't know, he came out or something, but it's still time for gay NFL player, and
Right.
then there's
So the breaking
nothing.
news
Just
is
that
that
there might
someone
be.
is thinking about maybe coming out.
so breaking
Yeah.
news about possible breaking
Right. So breaking news, there is someone in your locker room that's gay. You don't know what team.
Maybe.
No, he's thinking about coming out. So you don't know what team, you don't know where, but there
Right.
is a pro NFL player that
It's
is
like-
thinking about coming out. So the plan is to come out and then continue on with his career. So it's someone that's not in contract negotiations. So you can eliminate anyone going through contract negotiations
But
right
Do
now.
we really
With it.
care? I mean, we're talking about full marriage equality earlier,
I
and
know.
now we've gone back to really the NFL. I mean, there are players in the NFL. That's just a given. I think most everyone is willing and ready to accept the fact that that's just a fact.
Well,
I mean, this is 2013, and I mean, back with David Kopay came out of the closet in 1978, right?
Yeah,
He
but-
was a former player, but I mean, he was the king of the Rose Bowl. So since that time, I think our society's recognized that yes, indeed, a lot of the athletes who
Well,
we like and we follow are
right.
gay.
well, and
is
there's
it
been
really news today?
it would be news if a player came out while playing. Yes. For the NFL, it would be news. It is America's most watched game. It would
It's macho,
absolutely
macho,
right. It's
yeah.
macho. It's locker room stuff. There is still tons of homophobic comments that happen. We had it from
Is there
the
any
Super Bowl team this
baseball
year.
player that's the same sort of. I don't know.
No, I don't. There has not been.
Right?
No.
Yeah, so it's the same sort of.
There are women pro
fear or
athletes that
something, I don't
continue
know.
to come out while they're playing, but male pro athletes are not really coming out. Not on a team sport. We've had
Not on team
ice
sport,
skating.
right.
We've had
Or
I think
ex-players.
tennis,
Boxers.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like ex
doesn't-
NFL players, but no current. Yeah.
Right, doesn't get much more macho than boxers. So if the boxer
Right.
guy
He
can
can
come
come
out
out.
and still,
But
punch
you know, the
people and
boxer
kick
guy
somebody's ass.
he can defend himself.
Well,
so.
but,
It's
right,
a little
but-
harder if you're
right, but he's
Some of those
also
NFL players. though.
He's also he has a locker room to himself. He's not sharing a locker room with anyone. I mean, if the managers, they don't need to be in there. Nobody else is showering him. He's the only one that's got to get clean. So when you're dealing with a team sport, there's a different dynamic there. And we talked about the Mateo kid, whatever his name is.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
Manti-Te'o.
yeah, Manti Te'o, and he. He's trying to get in right now to the NFL, and there's a lot of speculation of can teams ask right out, "Are you gay?" Because there's a lot of speculation that he is, and a lot of people say,
But if
we
they
don't
do
wanna
this in
take him if
certain
he is.
cities where gay people are protected, his civil rights are being violated.
Correct,
And if they don't put him on the team, he could have a suit.
correct.
You can't go to the New York Giants or some of the other places where he's trying out or being tested. How can they legally do that?
Well, I don't know, but Jim Wagner on Facebook says I'm right and you're wrong, and that's all that matters.
Oh. That's official.
Thank you, Jim.
That's really all I care about. No, but it's. I agree with you, and I can't remember. I know that some of the professional men's leagues have added sexual orientation to their non-discrimination policy, and I can't remember if the NFL is one of them or not. But if the NFL has, then it doesn't even matter about the city or state,
Right,
where
because
they
the
are,
league can't
because
do it.
the league can't.
They have
and
to
I
abide by those
can't.
standards. I don't believe the NFL does.
I can't remember because I know it may have been the NBA that did. It may have been the NBA. But there, yeah,
And perhaps certain
maybe
teams
actually
may
hockey.
have that.
Because hockey has actually been pretty pro-gay. There's been several players that have come out for marriage equality because there was a player whose brother died, and it had a huge impact on the league. And he was gay and he died like in a car crash, and the whole family, like it was a big deal. So the NHL has actually kind of been leading the way on being outspoken on being out. So yeah.
Well, all these discussions are only good for us
Yeah.
as a society and for GLBT people everywhere.
So Abby is saying that Kavanaugh is telling the world that as far as he's concerned, discrimination against trans people in very dangerous spaces is okay. So he considers bathrooms
Dangerous place.
Yes, he considers bathrooms and locker rooms.
Well, probably being in a
dangerous.
bathroom with a Kavanaugh would be a very dangerous place.
Right.
Do
Apparently,
you have a gas thing that you can?
anywhere where you might take your pants down is dangerous, apparently. And I mean, I still don't understand. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if men's room has stalls, this wouldn't be a problem, because I think women are just like, what the hell are you people doing in these bathrooms? And they always say, well, it's for the women. We have to.
If you ask,
we have
is
to
it Larry
protect.
Craig or yeah,
Right.
That's what's happening in the bathroom.
Right. We have to protect the women because these, men, right? The trans men are gonna, men are just gonna be wandering around in the women's bathroom. Let me tell you what. There's a stall. If they come in, nobody's looking at that's not what you're doing in the bathroom. Guess what? In a dressing room, if you go into a dressing room, it's a room. It's made for you. It's I mean, you have the gap. You just walk in and people will change, and it's a dressing room, and everybody's it's a unisex kind of a place. I am very confused by this guy's fear about what is happening in these places and what he's going to make do. It's also what he doesn't understand is, if you have a trans man, I'm just going to take that as an example. If you have a trans man, and here's a masculine trans man that's been on hormones for
Most
years,
his life, yeah.
okay, and now to if he follows this law and goes into the women's, I mean, where can he go to the bathroom?
I know. I
If he
saw this
goes-
picture of it was 3 people at a urinal, and it was kind of like a back shot from their kind of waist down, and on each side it was guys in a business suit, and then in the center it was what appeared like women's legs in a dress, standing there too, and it's like, well, what could happen? Like, what could go wrong? But
And she's going to carry her birth certificate with her.
yeah, apparently, I guess, just to pee.
To get in the door.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. All right, looks like they're voting now. Leela Austin is a huge no.
We love you, Leela.
Which we knew. She had actually been messaging out big time that, that she was going to do this. So anybody that was calling in saying that they were against this bill and asking her to vote for the bill, she's like, I absolutely am. She's like, and I'm trying to convince committee members. She was actively working to make this go away. And her comment is, what are these people going to do? Where are they going to go to the bathroom? And she is an absolutely strong no. I'm waiting for other answers here to see where we're going.
Should we talk about our advocate of the week or?
Yeah, I don't have one. Go. If you got one, go.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's why we're not talking about.
I was going to go with
Recruit of the week.
sweet Edie Windsor.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Does
Ding,
that
ding,
work
ding,
for
ding,
you?
ding. Oh, that absolutely works for me. Yes.
She's so sweet.
Yes,
How
I
can you not love
know.
her? She's 83 years old.
Just put
Been
me
in the closet most of her life. She wore the pin that she wore for her partner today in the courtroom. I don't know if you saw that. She said instead of wearing a wedding band, because she wasn't legally married, so earlier on in her career, when she in the 70s and 80s, she would wear this band that was a brooch of some sort, and that symbolized her commitment to her partner. And then when marriage became legal in New York, she obviously got married. But then despite that, because the federal government didn't recognize that marriage and her partner died, got socked with a $365,000 tax bill.
Right. Representative Stephanie Mock is a no. That's good. I mean, we'll get the Dems. So
I have to say our reject would be Kavanaugh. Definitely.
I thought Dan was going to go with Clarence Thomas.
Well, he hasn't voted. No, he hasn't voted yet.
Just with his comments against us. I mean,
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, it's got to be.
For now. Next week.
It's got to be.
Clarence Thomas could change his ways.
I just wonder. I mean, does he?
He's still.
That boggles my mind, though, how he doesn't recognize.
We don't know if he doesn't or not. We don't know if he does or not.
He doesn't speak.
He's never spoken at a single hearing ever.
Well, then
ever. Not even hello, not a peep. But if he were to recognize or be any way aware,
yeah.
you would think he would have to question and bring at least some of that to the table.
And then this is like his second wife, I think, that he's had.
Right.
I don't know. Again, it's that sanctity of marriage. I don't know if he's really even protected that to begin with.
She's a Tea Party activist.
You see, it says an Oregon high school is being praised after creating a gender-neutral restroom. So, like, other states apparently have picked up on Arizona and are trying to get past all that. They have 5 transgendered students at the school.
Wow.
So that's kind of 4 of the students and 2 for the staff. So I guess a total, of wow.
Very forward-thinking school.
I guess, it's Oregon. It's cool.
Well, it's
a
Oregon.
high school, yeah.
Probably Portland somewhere.
It appears
Portland.
that it has passed out of committee. I am not seeing an official it passed out of committee, but I am seeing a lot of it's sad. It's very sad. So I'm going to say that we did not win that, which is what we were expecting. But that is still not good. Let me see if I can get a confirmation on that.
Any more texts from?
No, I've been keeping my eye on the chat room. She hasn't messaged.
What about on your phone? No
Nope.
message on your phone?
I looked.
Trying to get breaking news here. Breaking
it's not really
news.
working.
Well, the numbers aren't there for us, and that's been a problem for decades here in Arizona.
That's a problem with everything that we're trying to do.
You know, one thing we didn't say today, too, who also could be another advocate of the week, is Eddie Basha. I think we need to give a shout out there, too, if you would indulge me just a second.
Yeah.
Eddie Basha, what a real man and leader for the state of Arizona, and very sad to see him pass away yesterday. A very sad event. Besides being a grocer, a businessman, and someone who gave a lot of money and funds and leadership to our state, in 1994, he was the Democratic candidate for governor running against Fife Symington. Most people thought he was going to upset Symington, was really taking the lead through most of the campaign, and on a radio format, probably somewhat similar to this, said that he didn't have a problem with gay marriage. But the problem was it was 1994 in Arizona. And Symington and his staff, some people who were active in Republican politics even today and try to become mayor, bounced all over that proclamation and really kind of buried and bashed Eddie Basha for his views, which today might be very different, but he ended up losing the governorship because he wouldn't back down from a position that he was very honest about. And he did so much for schools and education in Arizona.
He sure did.
For contributing to every day and every year, Basha's for Thanksgiving does one of the biggest food drives, not just for St. Mary's, but across the board for food drives for those less fortunate. And Eddie Basha is a huge loss for the state of Arizona.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, now Rebecca just wrote, 1045 is going to pass out of committee. So you beat her to it.
There you go. Well, the update I got was that they're still voting.
They must have the votes already.
But but I'm sure they have the votes. So to be continued. We assume that this will go out of committee, but it is not officially out of committee yet. So keep checking the hashtag NoLou for you for more details. And have a good week. We'll see you next Wednesday.